Can you imagine a magical notebook that doesn't allow erasing? Only second chances? This story hides a great moral that you'll discover right at the end. At the top of a spinning hill lived Linzo, a mole with huge glasses and a paintbrush tail. His dream, to write the perfect story that never made a mistake. Linzo found an old notebook among singing roots. It had blue leather covers and a floating quill, as if waiting for the right words. On the cover, a phrase in golden letters: "Write with your soul. Regret does not belong here." Intrigued, Linzo wrote his first story. But when he tried to erase a misspelled word, the notebook trembled and let out a bright spark. The ink moved on its own, transforming the story. Each time Linzo wanted to correct something, the notebook rewrote everything in an unexpected way. Heroes turned into villains, and endings changed. Fascinated, Linzo decided to write a story about a brave fox. But after changing one line, the fox became a selfish thief. Frightened, Linzo refused to write for days. He watched the notebook from afar, as if it were a sleeping animal that might wake up in a bad mood. One afternoon, Tirsa arrived, a magpie with a trumpet voice and one wing made of paper. Seeing the notebook, she smiled with curiosity. "Why don't you write any more?" Tirsa asked. Linzo replied, "Because I'm afraid of making a mistake and everything changing for the worse." Tirsa looked at the notebook and said, "Maybe it's not about writing something perfect, but something true." Then she drew a heart with her paper wing. Linzo thought about it all night. The next morning, he decided to write something different. Not a story, but his story. He wrote about his fear, his insecurity, and his desire to create something meaningful. This time, he didn't want to erase anything. He left it just as it came out. The notebook glowed with a soft light. It didn't rewrite anything. For the first time, it respected every word Linzo wrote, as if it understood his sincerity. From that day on, Linzo and Tirsa wrote together. Imperfect stories, full of mistakes, but honest. And the notebook kept them without correction. One day, a third visitor appeared. Fompo, a snail without a shell, carrying a giant magnifying glass. "May I read your stories?" he asked. Fompo, with his slow but steady voice, read Linzo and Tirsa's stories aloud. When he finished, his eyes were full of dew. "These stories made me feel," he whispered. "Maybe the real courage is in letting others see your stains, not in hiding them." Inspired, Linzo wrote a story about Fompo, showing his bravery in living without shields. Tirsa added drawings with her paper wing. But just as they finished, the notebook slammed shut. A light surrounded it, and it transformed into a small library of living pages. Each page floated like a butterfly, carrying stories on the wind. Neither Linzo, Tirsa, nor Fompo knew if it would ever open again. Days later, a child in another place found one of those pages. After reading it, he began to write his own story in an ordinary notebook. The living library had split into 1,000 tales scattered across the world, seeking those brave enough to write from the heart. Meanwhile, on the spinning hill, Linzo built a reading bench. Tirsa flew to bring children, and Fompo told them stories. Sometimes, the wind would drop a new page. Linzo picked it up, read it, and smiled, knowing the notebook still lived in other hands. One day, a page brought back the first story Linzo had written, transformed by other readers who had added different endings. Though it wasn't how he remembered it, Linzo felt happy. He understood that the stories weren't his, but belonged to all who lived them. Tirsa painted a mural with all the characters born from the notebook. Fampo carved into stone. Mistakes are part of the journey. And so, each new visitor learned that the most powerful thing wasn't writing without flaws, but daring to tell what one truly feels. Linzo never erased anything again, because he understood that every line, even the poorly written ones, was part of who he was. Moral: don't be afraid to make mistakes. The best stories are born when you dare to be authentic, not perfect. See you again soon with more magical tales that will make your imagination soar and touch your heart in every adventure.